What will Alex do when he discovers his brother Luke and his wife Emma have betrayed him? And how will he take revenge and reclaim what's rightfully his? Are you ready to witness a shocking story of betrayal and revenge? Subscribe to our channel and don't miss a single episode. It was a bitterly cold January morning and Alex was battling a nasty flu. He was utterly miserable, but working outside in the cold was unavoidable. Despite the chill, Alex never sheared his responsibilities. He believed in giving his all, especially since it was his family's company. His father always said if it's worth doing right, and lived by that motto and never called in sick, unless he physically couldn't work, which had only happened twice. Both times he was hospitalized at 11 a.m. Alex felt his body starting to give out, realizing he couldn't continue. His foreman Luis took one look at him and practically shoved him into his truck. "Go home. Alex, you're no good to us like this and you'll just get everyone else sick." Luis insisted. That's how Alex found himself sitting in his truck parked in front of his house. Half an hour later, he'd parked on the street because his brother Luke's truck was in the driveway. This was strange for a few reasons. First, Luke should have been at work. Secondly, Luke had no reason to be at Alex's house without Alex being there. Thirdly, Alex was covering for Luke, who was supposedly in another town meeting a potential client. None of these reasons explained why Luke's truck was in Alex's driveway. Alex entered the house and quietly climbed the stairs to the bedroom. The closer he got, the clearer. The sounds became sounds he never wanted to hear. "Oh God." Yes, Luke came Emma's voice through the open bedroom door. Alex's suspicions were confirmed. Damn it, he thought, switching his phone to video mode and pointing it at the open doorway. "Luke made me cover for him so he could sleep with my wife. Let's see how he likes it when I kick his ass." Neither of the cheating lovers noticed the enraged figure of the deceived husband silently enter the room standing at the foot of the bed. Alex waited a few moments before launching a kick. Luke's universe changed instantly. Emma felt horror as she saw the fury on Alex's face. Alex, managing to regain some composure, rounded the bed and saw his older brother curled up on the floor in agony. Any further retaliation at this point could land him in jail. Luke was terrified, knowing he stood no chance against his younger brother. Even in a fair fight, Alex would tear him apart. Luke recalled Thanksgiving a few years back, when he had always been able to handle Alex. Unfortunately, working behind a desk had softened Luke, while Alex's work in construction had made him strong. Luke had always joked about how, being older, he would always be able to handle his younger brother. That day, Alex challenged Luke to an arm wrestling contest. Luke, overconfident, accepted. They sat at the table and Luke quickly realized he was outmatched. Alex's biceps flexed and he grinned, clearly not giving his all. Luke was humiliated in front of his wife and family, as Alex effortlessly won. Luke had vowed revenge ever since Jimmy deserved what he got. He had bullied Alex his whole life and now karma was catching up. Jimmy got divorced before the next Thanksgiving, caught cheating by a private investigator hired by his wife. 6 months later, Alex married Emma. My father, David, started our construction company when I was 3. He set it up as a corporation, but all shares were family-owned. My mother, Ella, worked as the accountant. I had one older brother, Luke, and a younger sister, Sarah. We were a happy family. Mostly Luke was a bully and Sarah was the favorite, being the youngest and only girl. Naturally, our parents spoiled her. Luke was the AA parent and I was the middle child. My parents loved me, but they had their favorites. When I finally confronted Emma, things only got worse. About a month after our wedding, she admitted she had been sleeping with Luke even before we got married. She told me she was pregnant and the baby was Luke's. My family sided with the cheaters. They welcomed Luke and Emma with open arms, pretending I never had a relationship with my own wife. They congratulated Luke on becoming a father, ignoring my heartbreak. My divorce was barely mentioned. I was invited to family dinners out of duty, not because they wanted me there. The last time I saw my family for 10 years was at Thanksgiving. I arrived late and they quickly showed me the door. I swore 2 things. I would never consider these people family again, and one day I would destroy them. They were supposed to love and support me, but they turned their backs when I needed them most. Somehow I would return and burn their world to the ground. 2 weeks later, where the hell is? Alex shouted David from his office. What's wrong? Ella asked, worried. The Henderson project is a month behind and the building inspector is demanding we redo last week's work. This will cost us at least 3,000 and another 2 weeks. Why the hell did Alex let this happen? David yelled first of all. Sarah said, entering the office. The Henderson project is Luke's, not Alex's. I haven't seen or heard from Alex in 2 weeks. He hasn't answered calls or messages. His foreman hasn't seen him either. Alex knows he has to cover for Luke. Damn it. He's been working on this project for 6 months. Find him and tell him I'm waiting in my office to kick his ass first thing in the morning. David demanded. The next morning, Sarah nervously entered her father's office. She had sent numerous texts and voicemails to Alex and even went to his house, finding it empty. Where the hell is Alex? David fumed. He left. He doesn't answer calls or messages. His house is empty, Sarah explained. Are you telling me he abandoned his family? David practically screamed. Sarah had a restless night remembering how everyone treated her brother. No, she said softly. I think he knows his family abandoned him. I joined the Army Corps of Engineers when I left home. I worked part-time while in college, graduating with a degree in civil engineering and an MBA. I planned to be part of the executive team, but now my plans had changed. I decided to start my own construction company and compete with my family. I would undermine them, steal their clients and best employees. I wouldn't put them out of business, but I would significantly reduce their income. Rebecca, my fiancée, Jackie, and her wealthy helped. We created an LLC buying out small, poorly managed construction companies. We turned them around quickly. Within a few years, we had acquired several companies. Rebecca and I became close and we got engaged. We were ready for the final act of revenge. We bought up every publicly traded share of my family's company. They had no idea what was coming. Sarah was in a bad mood, not unusual for her. She knew most people at the company disliked her as CFO and daughter of the chairman. She did what she wanted, but today an unscheduled board meeting was called. This was unusual. Typically, the board met once a quarter and decisions were made by the family. Each family member owned 12 of the shares, maintaining control. Alex's shares were used for voting, even though he refused contact. Sarah noticed fewer people than usual at the meeting. Several small shareholders, the brunette who filed the motion and a blonde, were present. I proposed to remove the chairman for incompetence and moral failings, said the brunette. Sarah was shocked but realized the family had 60 of the votes. Voting began and the expected results followed. Then the door swung open and Alex entered. Alex Johnson with 12 of the vote. He said our family business was taken from us. Alex became chairman, firing Luke and replacing him with the blonde. I was also fired and replaced by the brunette. Our house and cars company property for tax purposes were taken. We had a week to move out except Luke and Emma, who had 24 hours. Alex led the meeting and we were still major shareholders and could attend the meetings, but we had no power. Fine, we need to figure out how to react. We can't just sit back and take this. We need to fight back and take what is ours. David stated. Great, Ella replied. But how are we going to do that? Where do we even start? Well, contact our lawyers and begin filing claims. David suggested. Dad, we don't have any lawyers. The lawyers work for the company and we no longer control the company. We would have to hire other lawyers and they cost money. Now I know we all have accounts where we've been hiding money, but this is going to be a long legal fight and right now I need all the cash I can get to live on until I find another job and get back on my feet. Sarah said, maybe it's time for me to visit my little brother. Luke chuckled, cracking his knuckles. Emma looked at her husband critically. I would strongly advise against doing this. She said it didn't end well for you the last time you tried it, and now he looks a lot tougher and stronger than he did back then. Luke started to say something but then went quiet. Sarah listened to the discussion and as every idea was criticized, she realized something no one had mentioned yet. Maybe we could just go and talk to him. She suggested. The sudden silence was deafening, as everyone in the room looked at her as if she had grown a third eye. Maybe if we went and talked to him and asked for forgiveness for the way we treated him. Maybe if we begged him for mercy he wouldn't be so harsh. Obviously he won't give it all back, but maybe if we admit we were wrong, he might ease our pain enough that we can survive and not be completely destroyed. Pandemonium ensued. You expect me to walk up to him with my tail between my legs and humiliate myself in front of this brat after he abandoned his family and then comes back 10 years later to stab us in the back? Are you crazy? I will never disgrace myself by bowing to that ungrateful bastard. David roared seriously, sis, after the way he treated me and my wife before he ran away and then what he did today. Do you really think I could do anything other than find a way to put him back under that slippery rock from which he crawled? Hell no, Luke shouted. Even Emma screamed her disgust at groveling before her ex-husband. Luke is 10 times bigger than Alex. There is no way I would embarrass myself or my husband by begging that weakling for anything, she said. Darling, Ella said in a motherly tone. I understand what you're thinking, but we need to start a war with the man who has encroached on the well-being of our family. Now is the time to fight back, not admit defeat. No, we will not talk to our new enemy. We will find a way to attack and take what is ours. The discussion returned to possible ways to fight back. Sarah remained silent, having already decided she needed to jump off the platform before the train crashed. She realized too late what their loving family had done to her older brother. But by then Alex had disappeared. She never got the chance to tell him how sorry she was for her words and actions. She was a self-centered, spoiled child. Back then her epiphany came 2 weeks later than it should have. Rebecca Caulfield looked up when the secretary ushered Sarah Johnson into her office the next morning. She noticed Sarah was wearing a dark blue pencil skirt, matching jacket, powder-colored blouse, black stockings, and 4 in heels. It was a very nice but conservative look. Sarah's blonde hair was styled professionally and her makeup was applied tastefully. Even though Rebecca had heard all the stories about what a hardess Sarah was, she was still very attractive. Gesturing for the visitor to sit, Rebecca began the rather unexpected meeting. What can I do for you, Miss Johnson? To be honest, I'm a little surprised by your visit this morning. Yeah, well, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would be surprised by my presence here. I actually came today to talk to Alex, but was told he wasn't expected. They suggested you could give him a message, maybe, depending on what the message is. From what I understand, he really isn't interested in talking to your family right now. Just so we're clear, I've heard all the stories about you and your whole family. To be very clear, I don't like any of you either after the way you treated him. So you two are close. Then Sarah asked, trying to get as much information as possible about the new players in this game. Maybe if she could win Rebecca over and show that she truly regretted her past actions, she could convince her brother to help her. Yes, we're close, but probably not as close as you think. We're not dating. We're just very good friends. In fact, he's more like a brother to me than anyone else. Oh, could you tell me how you met? I could, but I really don't think it's any of your business right now. Maybe some other time, but I'm pretty busy preparing for the takeover by the new company. So what message do you have for Alex? Sarah knew this was it. She needed to make Rebecca understand that she truly regretted her previous behavior. Please tell Alex that I really need to talk to him. I know what my past behavior was like and I am truly sorry for it. Unfortunately, I realized this about 2 weeks later than I should have by then. He had already left. I know everyone else is trying to figure out a way to deal with his actions, but I'm not going to be a part of it. I just want to be able to look him in the eyes and tell him how sorry I am for the way I behaved. Yes, I hope he will show me some mercy, but I'm not even going to suggest that he exclude me from whatever punishment we face. I hope he will allow me to have some kind of relationship with him. I want him to know that I will be separated from the rest of the family. I want to do this because I realized they were wrong and I don't want anything to do with them anymore. I'm not even going to ask him to trust me. I just want to be able to see and talk to the brother. I foolishly threw away, Sarah sobbed. Rebecca looked at the crying woman and sighed. She had enough experience with some of her former lovers, as well as the employees. She had to fire to know the difference between crocodile tears and real tears of grief and loss. She could tell easily enough that Sarah was sincere. Fine, look, Alex is out of town for a few days. He won't be back until Monday. I'll give him your message and see if I can get him to schedule some time for you. Thank you, I appreciate it. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you what, how about we meet tonight for drinks and dinner? I don't know anyone here, and I'd like to talk to you a little more and find out what exactly you expect from all these events. To say that Sarah was taken aback by the proposal would be an understatement. She found Rebecca to be a very attractive woman, and Sarah really liked women, although she never let the rest of her family know about it. She went to parties and events with different guys to keep up the charade, but whenever she was out of town she looked for another woman. It would also give her the opportunity to learn more about Rebecca and her relationship with Alex. She might also find out more about the blonde and redhead who helped ambush her and her family. Not that she intended to use this information to help her family in their struggles. Quite the contrary, she wanted information so she could use it to help her form a new relationship with Alex. It would be better if she could attract allies to her side. Sure, that sounds great. What time and where? About 7:00 p.m. at the steakhouse on Main Street. Rebecca suggested. Perfect. I'll see you then, Sarah replied, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. The evening was a mix of tension and curiosity. As Sarah and Rebecca met at the steakhouse, they ordered their drinks and settled into a booth, the soft lighting creating an intimate atmosphere. So tell me more about what you expect. Rebecca began taking a sip of her wine. Sarah took a deep breath. I pretty much said it all before. I really want a new and better relationship with Alex. I know I screwed up and I accept that. Trust me, at this point I will gladly accept any mercy he decides to show me. But even if he decides to throw me out on the street, I still want to show him that I have changed and want to be a better sister to him. Rebecca nodded her eyes, studying Sarah carefully. How do I know you're not just saying this to get information to use against him? Honestly, you don't know. You have no reason to trust me. Same as Alex, I'm curious about what happened to him in the last 10 years. I can see that he is important to you and that you have a serious relationship with him. Being completely honest here, I really want to know more about you and the other two women. I want this because if I can get my brother back, I think I should know the people who are important to him. If they are important to my brother, they must also be important to me. You said you're like a sister to him. This means that I should also be like a sister to you. Maybe you can teach me how to be a better sister to Alex than I was in the past. Rebecca considered this for a moment. Interesting proposal. This sounds plausible. You're obviously an attractive woman and you seem to be pretty close to Alex. Why aren't you two dating? Sarah asked, something about the situation not making sense to her. Rebecca laughed. There are actually two reasons for this, I can tell you, because there is really nothing in it that you could use against us anyway. The first reason is that Alex is already in a relationship with someone else. In fact, they are engaged. The second reason is that, how should I put it? Let's just say that you're much more my type than Alex's. Sarah's eyes widened. So how did you two meet? I'd really like to know. Rebecca smiled. We met in the army. He pulled me out of a wrecked car and saved my life. He was also wounded, but not too badly, by the way. It was there that I injured my leg. My family was duly grateful and we sort of adopted him after hearing his story. Oh wow, we didn't even know he served in the army. He just left without saying a word. Yesterday was the first we heard from him. Yes, I know he did it on purpose. I understand you all really didn't treat him very well. So Yumi mentioned he's engaged. Yeah, as soon as he's done here they'll get married. Can you tell me who she is? It the blonde? No, in fact she is engaged to my older brother. No, Alex is engaged to my sister. I think it was love at first sight for both of them. When Alex woke up in the hospital in Germany, Sarah was surprised. I would really like to know that he was injured. I would be next to him. Rebecca nodded. Yeah, well, Becca really rushed into taking care of him to get him back to health. She's a real bear when it comes to protecting him. Trust me, you don't want her to think that you want to hurt him in any way. She's a tough lawyer and I've seen the wreckage she leaves behind when she really wants to destroy her opponent in court. That is, if the case actually goes to trial. She can just tear you apart with her bare hands. I've seen her do this several times. Looks like I really need to meet her and make sure I don't get in her way. Rebecca grinned. Actually, you've already met her and sweet cheeks, you're already on her bad side. Is this the redhead? Yeah, she hates every one of you. It's her you really need to win over. They got hungry and went to the restaurant next door. The conversation continued as both women learned more about each other. Rebecca was very careful with her words, as she did not intend to give any information about Alex's plans. Sarah did ask about SRJ Enterprise, but Rebecca refused to answer any questions about it. The meal was over and the two women were drinking the last of their wine. Okay, Rebecca, you said I need to win over your sister, Becca, to have any chance of having any kind of relationship with Alex. Sarah said, working on this throughout the last half of her dinner. Yeah. She is his gatekeeper. Rebecca replied, well, I have a foolproof plan for this. Sarah announced. Rebecca smiled. Just how are you going to turn my Barracuda sister from a demon from the depths of hell into the loving sister you claim to be? Simple. First I'm going to win you and then you're going to win your sister for me. Interesting concept. Rebecca grinned. And how do you propose to win me over? Oh, I think it will be quite simple. To put it simply, my plan is to take you to my place and entertain you all night. Long after that, you will be sick tomorrow, so I can continue all day and also on the weekend. I fully believe that when you finally show up to work on Monday morning, you will be more than ready to tell your sister what an amazing woman I am and that you would really like her to welcome your new girlfriend with open arms. I understand, so what's to stop me from rejecting your advances and making me believe that you're serious about becoming my girlfriend? Actually, two things. First of all, you have already mentioned that I am your type and I believe that you are truly attracted to me. Secondly, I just told you my biggest secret. None of my family or friends know about my preferences. Nobody even suspects it. This will reveal my secret to the whole world. I've never done this for anyone before. My willingness to reveal my true self and come out of the closet should convince you that I am completely serious. If you have any doubts about it after this weekend, just watch how my parents and Luke disown me when it happens. I already told you that I will reject them. This will only make the problem worse and prove my intentions. Lord sister, what happened to you look terrible? Shouted to her sister when Rebecca finally managed to stagger into the office on Monday morning. Severe lack of sleep caused by 3 wonderful days. If you think I look bad, you should go see my new girlfriend. Rebecca answered, wow. Okay, so who is this new girlfriend and how did this happen so quickly? Becca asked. I'll tell you what, give me some caffeine, and then I need to meet you and Alex for a little while. I have some news for both of you. How about in 20 minutes in Alex's office? Certainly go have some coffee. You look like you need it. So Rebecca, what am I hearing about the new girl? Alex asked when a shabby Rebecca entered his office. Well, I had a surprise visitor on Thursday, while you two were out of town. It turned into an even more amazing dinner and then into a full weekend. Now it seems to me that I have an even more shocking friend. Okay, so who is it? Becca asked worriedly. Rebecca let the tension build for a minute, looking from her sister to her future brother-in-law and back again. Her name is Sarah Johnson. She watched as the faces in front of her went from happy and smiling to shocked. Several minutes passed before either of them could utter a word. My sister Alex said, well, sort of, but I did find out some interesting information about her and the rest of your family before you get too worked up. I did some research between the time she left my office and the time I met her later that evening. She seemed to come to her senses right after you left. In fact, she is very sorry for the way she treated you before. Of course, you don't just take her word for it, even if she had sex with you all weekend. Of course not. And my name is Rebecca, not stupid. Rebecca giggled as Alex and Becca rolled their eyes at the joke seriously. I did some research on this. Several longtime employees commented on how she acted rather sad. Right after you left, she seemed very unhappy and depressed for a few months and mentioned that she really missed you. Could it have just been people loyal to her who said you lies to help her? Becca asked. I doubt it. Remember Kate, even she told me about it. Alex remembered the old secretary in the accounts receivable department. He knew that he and Sarah really hated each other. If Kate said it, then it was probably true. Okay, but I'm pretty sure Sarah doesn't prefer women. Actually, that's how it is. She is 100 like that. Believe me, she was very well versed in the intricacies of female love. That's one of the things that helped her convince me. She's coming out of the closet for the chance to talk to you and try to build a better relationship. She completely abandons the rest of the family. Sounds kind of selfish to me. I think she sees what's coming and is trying to take care of herself. I don't doubt that's part of it, but it's not necessarily a bad thing either. I suggest hiring her as my assistant so we can keep an eye on her. This will also help you understand how sincere she is. Worst case scenario. We can always use it to get information about everyone else. Rebecca suggested, why the hell not? Alex agreed. Obviously, we will have tracking software on her computers, tablets, and phones to see if she tries to stab us in the back. Make an appointment with the three of us for this afternoon. Well, ask your brother to set up the software and offer her a job after the meeting if all goes well. Just make sure you think with your highbrow brain and not your below-the-belt brain. Becca teased her sister as they ended their meeting. Alex sat at his desk in shock as he listened to his sister talk later that day. He was surprised by the vital she spewed when she talked about their parents, brother, and especially Emma. She described how she had to play nice for the past 10 years because she had no other options and needed to stay on the good side of the family. She also provided extensive information about the family's company activities, accounts, and plans to try to regain control. When asked about her seemingly sudden change in sexual preference, she spoke very openly about her past. She confirmed that she was now completely out of the closet and proudly stated that she had no doubt it would ruin any relationship with their very bigoted family. I have been unhappy for the last 10 years. I'm so sorry that I didn't realize anything before you left, but by then it was too late. Even if you reject me now, I'm just happy that I have the chance to finally apologize to you for my past behavior. Sarah concluded. Fine, I accept your apologies. It seems really genuine, and I'm even willing to try and see if we can make some kind of relationship work. Unfortunately, there is a trust issue, considering your past behavior towards me and your relationship with the rest of your family. I simply don't trust you have every reason to deceive us, since I have pretty much taken everything from you. However, it seems my future sister-in-law thinks you deserve a chance. Keep in mind that we will be watching you very closely. Lie and any mistake on your part will have dire consequences. Don't ruin it all. What is SRJ Enterprise? Sarah asked. I've never heard of this company before. SRJ stands for Samuel, Rebecca, and June. We own the company, so it didn't really matter what we offered for our own shares. In reality, we would still just be paying ourselves with our own money. I should have guessed this. Sarah never moved out of her home. Instead, Rebecca moved in and let her girlfriend live with her. Alex and Becca continued to be amazed at how well their relationship was going. It seemed like Sarah was really attracted to Rebecca and was really working on developing their relationship. Sarah accepted the position as Rebecca's assistant and seemed to enjoy working under her. Alex has really opened up to her, and Sarah and Alex developed a better sibling relationship with each other. It helps that Sarah and Alex are dating sisters and often see their respective partners. Yes, she was disowned by her parents and older brother when she happily told them that she was living with her girlfriend. She really enjoyed hearing her mother scream when she told them exactly who her girlfriend was. Luke and Emma could only watch as their former home was taken over by Dave and his fiancée, GCC, feeling slightly sorry for Luke and Emma's children. They were innocent victims. Alex relented on some of the revenge he was planning for his brother and ex-wife. Instead of being unemployed forever and forcing them into the poorhouse, Alex offered them a job. Several months passed and Luke and Emma were on the verge of being evicted from the cheap apartment they were renting before the two of them finally swallowed their pride and agreed to take the jobs offered by Alex. Naturally, the jobs they were offered were not what they had hoped for. Alex, being quite popular in the community, quietly made it clear that he would have nothing to do with anyone who hired any of his former family. As for David and Ella, they tried to sue Alex to force him to leave and give them the company back. In truth, it was a pretty weak case, but they managed to find a little-known law firm desperate for cases to take on the challenge. This lasted approximately 30 seconds. After the first hearing, David and Ella's two lawyers watched as the striking red-haired woman entered the courtroom and took her place at the defendant's table. They looked at each other, collected their briefcases, and informed their clients that they were withdrawing from the case, practically running out of the courtroom. Later, when David and Ella burst into the law office to ask what had happened, the two lawyers informed them of the disaster in progress. "Don't you know who their lawyer is?" asked one of the partners. "Of course we know. David replied, "She's the one who represents the corporation that bought us out. She's also apparently the fiancée of our disinherited son." "Then you really don't know," said the second partner, shaking his head. "This is Rebecca Caulfield. To be completely honest with you, your case is really weak. Anyway, you only had a slim chance of winning. We were really hoping they would decide that fighting in court would be too expensive and offer a settlement at worst. Their lawyers would simply review the case on its merits and probably get it dismissed. Rebecca is completely different, especially since you just mentioned she is engaged to your son, whom you seem to clearly hate. This makes the matter personal for her. She won't be satisfied with just winning the case. She will chew you up, bit you out, and then completely humiliate and destroy you. She will then turn her attention to the person introducing you. We may be desperate for a job, but we're not so desperate that we'd be completely destroyed by taking on a lost cause against the most ruthless barracuda on the planet." With their funds running low and no other options, the couple had no choice but to move into a small one-bedroom apartment that they could afford on Social Security. Ella spent her days as an unpaid nanny for Luke and Emma's children, while her eldest son and daughter-in-law worked. David spent his days in misery, sitting on the couch and complaining about how his life had turned out. The elderly couple did not communicate with their youngest son or daughter. They rarely saw their eldest son because of his work. "Let me come in, Mr. Johnson," the store cashier said quietly, entering Alex's office. "Yes, Emma, what can I do for you?" he replied, smiling at his ex-wife and now daughter-in-law. "Well, I was wondering if there was any way you could transfer Luke to work somewhere closer to us. Due to him working out of state for the past few months, we only see each other one day every 2 weeks. Even then, he is usually too tired to do anything." "Well, I'm sorry, Emma, but all the jobs for the workers closer are filled. To move Luke closer, I would have to move another worker to take his place. I would simply replace your difficulties with other people's difficulties. This would not be very fair to the other person and his family." The once attractive blonde began to sob. "Please, Mr. Johnson. I know that you despise us and punish us for what we have done, but I am in despair. I haven't made love to my husband for months. I will do whatever you ask, please. Please let me see my husband." She seems to want to meet her husband. A familiar female voice came over the speakerphone. "Maybe she doesn't really mean it." Another female voice added, "From what she told me when I was meeting with my family to come out of the closet. I don't buy what she sells." The third woman said, "Well, Emma, it looks like no one is really buying it. Perhaps you should be a little more specific about what exactly you are willing to do. Frankly, I don't really like the idea of this man you call a husband being closer to me than absolutely necessary. If we could find work in Siberia, I would send him there. Why, in the name of all that is holy, would I even consider moving him any closer?" Emma sobbed harder. "At least now he can come home every other weekend, but it's an 8-hour drive. He returns home late on Friday night, needs to rest on Saturday, and leaves again on Sunday morning. Since he is just a worker and earns barely more than minimum wage, he is so tired by the time he gets home that he simply sleeps all day." "Well, Emma, I'm not entirely sure this is my problem. If things don't work out between the two of you, can quit and find another job. You know that's not an option. You know we've already tried this. We can't afford to pack up and move somewhere else, and no one here will hire us again after they find out what happened. I understand that you hate us and what we did, but can't you show an ounce of compassion again? Why do I need this? You two never had any compassion for me. In fact, you rubbed it in my face. You two never even showed the slightest bit of remorse for what you did to me. All you regret now is that I take revenge on you. It's not because of what you did to me." Seeing that there were no words that could sway her ex-husband, Emma knew she had to rely on the only thing she had left. "It'll do anything." She whispered, hoping Sam would accept her offer and just have sex with her. Alex was bigger than Luke, and she always enjoyed the sex she had with him. She only gave in to Luke when she realized that Luke would be the one to inherit the company and be more successful. Next to the word gold digger in the dictionary was her photograph. Perhaps she thought she could win back her ex-husband and throw the stubborn redhead out onto the street. After all, she was extremely upset about the lack of sex lately. Besides, she knew she could entertain Alex senselessly if, given the chance, She was only slightly concerned that this conversation was with a redhead and two disgusting individuals who were having fun with each other. Okay. Becca squeaked through the speaker. How about this? Alex, you and I have discussed the idea of having a threesome with another woman. I sincerely doubt I would return the favor, but I wouldn't mind seeing if it made any difference. Emma's horror at this thought only intensified when June spoke. Oh yeah, Steph and I also discussed the possibility of picking up another woman and using her as our plaything for one night. Luke isn't supposed to be back this weekend, so maybe you guys can play with her on Saturday and we can have her over on Sunday. Alex thought for a moment before answering. That sounds like a plan. June, you and Steph can do whatever you want. Great. June was delighted. On Monday morning, Emma somehow managed to hobble gingerly to work. She just hoped Alex would keep his end of the deal. Good news, Steph announced. As Emma entered, your husband will finish where he is this week and then return for the weekend. Next week, he will begin construction on a new building here in town. Emma was relieved by this news. Given her terrible relationship with them, she was worried they would back out of the deal. You lousy ass, you set me up. Emma screamed as she burst into Alex's office Thursday afternoon. She had just been served with divorce papers. The divorce papers included several graphic photographs of Emma having sex with multiple women and one man. The faces of everyone except Emma were very carefully blurred in the photographs. He kicks me out of the apartment and declares that I am an unfit mother for children. Emma continued to scream her. Tirade continued for another 10 minutes and attracted a sizable crowd. The crowd apparently included Rebecca, June, and Stephanie. Despite her screams, Alex simply sat back in his chair silently with a smile on his face. He didn't say anything until Emma finally calmed down and started sobbing. Becca, as a company lawyer. What are my options for such serious charges brought against us by one of our cashiers? Alex asked. Well, Mr. Johnson, as far as the evidence I've seen here, she has no evidence that you, I, or anyone else at the firm had anything to do with her promiscuous behavior. My opinion on this matter is that she has found herself in a very compromising position and is grasping at straws to find any way to save her reputation and strengthen her financial standing. My advice is to fire her for cause for creating a hostile work environment. Lord knows our security cameras caught enough of her false accusations to justify this. Alex sighed. Very good. Even though she hurt me when she left me for my brother. I really hope that by helping them and hiring them when no one else would, I could somehow heal the rift in our family. It finally worked out when we hired Stephanie. Let it be so, Emma. I have no choice but to let you go. Please notify HR. They will explain your rights and options. Your final check will be delivered to you before departure, but I have nowhere to go. Luke kicked me out and filed restraining order. Without this job, I won't even be able to rent another apartment or get a hotel room for the night. Emma whined. She considered moving across the country, but what kind of life would that be? She wouldn't. VD Jake could have the references to get any decent jobs. How would she explain the huge gap in her work experience? The best she could hope for was a minimum wage job. That likely wouldn't VDTM even support her and would never allow her to see her children again. Her next option was to live on the streets here and beg for spare change to survive. She would at least see her children from time to time, even if it was supervised visitation. Jacob and Ella lived the rest of their lives on the brink of poverty, subsisting only on their social security. Their hatred and anger continued to prevent them from reaching out to Alex. Their fanaticism also prevented them from making any attempts to contact their daughter. The only joy they found was watching their grandchildren born to their eldest son. Luke continued to exist in his low-paying job, working as a laborer for his brother's company. He was told that his chances of promotion were zero. He tried several times to find a better job, but was rejected at every turn. He didn't have the skills needed for any particular profession, and his background and business degree were tainted enough by the way. He lost his company that no one wanted to take a chance on him. He tried dating for a while, but found very few women willing to waste time on a single father who was a loser with very limited means. Alex and Rebecca got married and had 3 children. All 3 of their children were equally loved and should have been equal heirs. There would be no favorites in this house. June and Stephanie also got married. Although their relationship began under strange circumstances, they fell in love with each other unconditionally. Likewise, Stephanie and Alex developed a strong relationship as brother and sister. Stephanie gave birth to 2 children. The donor was Juni's older brother, and they used artificial insemination to conceive one day. While sitting in his office, Alex received a call from Stephanie. "Hey, Alex, can you come over for dinner tonight? June and I have something we want to discuss with you, and Rebecca sure sounds good. What time? How about 7 p.m? Perfect. We'll be there that evening." Alex and Rebecca arrived at Stephanie and Juni's house. The dinner was delicious and the conversation flowed easily. After dessert, June cleared her throat. "So, Alex, Rebecca, we have some news. We've been thinking a lot about the future and we want to make sure the kids are taken care of. We know you guys feel the same way, so we were thinking it would be good to set up a family trust. That way all the kids will be taken care of no matter what happens." Alex nodded. "That sounds like a great idea. We've been thinking along the same lines." Rebecca smiled. "Yes, we want to make sure the kids are secure. Let's talk about the details and get this set up." As they discussed the trust and how it would be managed, Alex felt a sense of peace, despite everything that had happened with his family. He had found a new family with Rebecca, June, and Stephanie. They were building a future together, one that would ensure their children were taken care of and loved. A few months later, Alex received a letter from an old family friend, Tom. "Hey, Alex, I heard about what happened with your parents and Luke. I just wanted to reach out and see if you're okay. I always knew you were the strong one. If you ever need to talk, I'm here for you." Alex smiled as he read the letter. He hadn't spoken to Tom in years, but it was good to know that someone still cared. He wrote back, "Thanks, Tom. It's been a rough few years, but things are looking up. I have a great family now and we're doing well. I appreciate your support. Let's catch up soon." Life continued and the family trust proved to be a wise decision. The children grew up surrounded by love and security, with their futures bright and full of promise. Alex and Rebecca's business continued to thrive and they enjoyed the fruits of their hard work. One summer evening, Alex and Rebecca sat on their porch watching the sunset. Alex said, "Despite everything that happened, I wouldn't change a thing. It led me to you and the life we have now." Rebecca smiled, leaning into him. "I feel the same way. We have a beautiful life and it's only going to get better." As the years went by, the family remained close, supporting each other through life's ups and downs. Alex's past was a distant memory, overshadowed by the happiness and love he found with Rebecca and their children. Don't go away. Subscribe to our channel and wait with us for the next storm to come.